pinstripe prison costume in hand, Dominic Santana stepped out of jail with a new message for former President Donald Trump.
It's your day. Now you're getting locked up. I got locked up too. but he came in and out, no bond. I've been there all night.
Police arrested the 61-year-old yesterday after he ran in front of Trump's motorcade as it left the federal courthouse in downtown Miami. It happened after Santana had been facing off with Trump supporters.
I was running away from the mob that was hitting me, and I just dodged for my safety. And all of a sudden, there's the motorcade, and there's my sign. And then I got tackled down. Simple.
Santana said he wanted Trump to see the sign he carried with the words, "Lock him up."
He should have been locked up long time ago. Long time ago. He's a New York thug.
Santana admits it wasn't the first time he tried to approach Trump's car. And as for the officers who shoved him out of the way,
they had to do their job. They didn't know if I was armed. The police did a great job.
Good evening, and thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz for Think About It Thursday. Hope you all are doing great, and we're winding up the week. Now, I do have some updates to bring to you until we get more into this mess. Specifically, wait a minute, where's he at? That one right there. So you all remember the apartment building collapse? We do have yet another update.
This is a public service announcement. You might want to think twice about eating frozen.
We have shocking.
Let's get the right one going.
We have shocking updates out of the Davenport City Council meeting that happened yesterday. Last Monday, the city of Davenport reported that they had recovered all 3 of the bodies of the missing men in the Davenport rubble. Removal and demolition started on Tuesday this week. However, people have been coming forward and saying that during this time, they have witnessed body bags long after the remains of the men that we knew about were removed. Then yesterday at the city council meeting, someone asked them about the body bags that they had seen being removed from the site. And suspiciously, all of a sudden, the live feed of the city council meeting was turned off. Now, they claim it's a glitch, and yet, for some reason, they still haven't uploaded the feed to their YouTube channel. Remember how they also claimed that it was a glitch that caused the passing of the building inspection to suddenly read as a fail after the building collapsed? Luckily, someone had the foresight to screen record.
And I know that it's more than 3 people missing. I literally seen body bags. But where are those answers? And I know you guys can't say anything because families haven't been contacted. It's terrifying that you could go to the store and get
And right there was the moment that the video suddenly glitched. Several people were witnesses to the security cam footage that was pointed at the site. The bags were kept away from where the people could see because they're trying to hide the fact that more people died than what we know. It is a well-known local fact that unhoused people like to sleep in the basement of the lobby of the Davenport. Now, remember how these people said that it was too dangerous to try and move all the rubble, that it was what was holding up the building? How they didn't move a single brick for 7 days because it was too dangerous for search and rescue? See this tiny amount of 2x4s right here? According to the city, that's what they needed in order to dig through that. It was not what was holding up the building. Because of water pipes bursting down there, apparently the basement was flooded. We demand answers. The city has been desperate for this to blow over the entire time. Just watch the mayor in this interview. Again, less than 24 hours after the collapse, and just hours later, a woman was found alive and recovered after breaking out a window on the top floor.
They were going to demo this building with Lisa Brooks alive inside.
The mayor says crews spent hours searching the wreckage overnight and have now stopped looking for survivors.
Rescue's over.
And now it's about recovery.
Recovery, and what are we doing with the building?
And as of now, there's no one under there that you know about.
That we know about.
How concerned are you that that may change?
There's always a concern.
Excuse me. I wish I could be shocked. I truly, truly wish that I could be shocked by this. But let's not forget, shortly before that collapse, that building was up for sale. And there's some people in that local government that had their hands in that sale. It's always profit over people. But you know how they always say, no taxation without representation. Well, there is a city here in the good old US of A where Black people are being taxed without representation. Recently. Take a look.
A white minority deciding that they're not going to listen to the will of the people in their town and coup the government. Newbern, Alabama, a small Black majority town that has always been governed by the white minority. The mayorship has just been handed down from friend to friend without any election. Patrick Braxton decided that he wanted to run for mayor, got no answers from the incumbent regime. So he ended up going to state level authorities and he was able to get on the ballot. The previous mayor didn't file any of the paperwork to be on the ballot, and so he wasn't. Patrick Braxton was elected mayor of Newbern, Alabama. The former government ignored the election. Now they're saying that
no, actually we had a different election and we won that election.
Patrick Braxton won. He won the election because he was the only person on the ballot.
Newbern, Alabama stages a coup against the first generally elected Black mayor, Patrick Braxton. Have y'all heard about this? So Newbern, Alabama, up until 2020, had never had an election for their mayor. The position had just been passed down from friend to friend, from one white person to the next, without any input from the constituents in that town. Well, that was until 2020 when Patrick Braxton decided he was going to run for mayor. He went down to city council, filed the appropriate paperwork, and the incumbent, Haywood Stokes, who had been handed the position, did not. An election was held, and by default, Mr. Braxton won because there was nobody else on the ballot. As had been done all the previous years with all the previous hand-me-down mayors, he was to assume his position within the town. Essentially, the city council decided that they were going to stage a coup and not allow Mr. Braxton to serve as mayor of the town. They held an unofficial election to fill their very own seats, and then unilaterally appointed the incumbent Mayor Stokes, and since then has refused to hand over the keys, almost 3 years, has refused to hand over the keys to the rightfully elected mayor. Mayor Braxton, unable to fulfill his duties to his constituents, has filed a federal civil lawsuit against the city council and the incumbent mayor. They deny any wrongdoing and assert that Mr. Braxton will be unable to prove any type of conspiracy. Somebody send this man some help.
Tell me again how racism is in the system. Tell me again about free and fair elections. This goes far beyond gerrymandering. This goes far beyond changing voter districts. They traditionally weren't even holding elections. Just say, I'm a mayor, I'm ready to retire. Hey, bestie, you want to be the mayor next? Tag, you're it. And then they finally hold an election in a predominantly Black city, and a Black person becomes mayor. And they're like, you can't prove that this is what we've been doing, and you can't prove that everything. Where is your paperwork? Yes, he can prove it. Are you hoping that your minority will hold up in a court of law? Must be nice to be that level of privilege. Now, I know some of you have heard about the Fox faux pas, and some of you may not have. So let's look into it.
Fox News is nothing more than an entertainment channel at this point, and if you need more evidence to make that point, check out the Chiron that Fox News used during yesterday's broadcast. On Tuesday, Donald Trump made history by becoming the first president, current or sitting, to be indicted for federal crimes for his alleged violations of the Espionage Act. After appearing in court in Miami, Donald Trump gave a speech where he claimed he did absolutely nothing wrong. And of course, President Biden gave a response speech at the White House. Here is the chyron that Fox News used during President Biden's address. Wannabe dictator speaks at White House after having political rival arrested. Chyrons are used to describe what is happening on screen, and I, for one, have never seen a reputable news source be so liberal with their descriptions. Political New York Times reporter Ken Bensinger saw this chyron during yesterday's broadcast, wrote to Fox News, and received this lackluster response. It was taken down immediately and was addressed. But the funny thing is, this is not the first time Fox News has been caught using deranged chyrons during their live broadcast. And FYI, there is only one Mexican country, not three. The only reason why Fox News can continue to get away with stuff like this is because they classify themselves as an entertainment channel and not a news organization. In 2022, when Tucker Carlson was facing slander charges for statements made on his show, Fox News lawyers claimed that any reasonable person watching Tucker Carlson's show would believe his comments to be loose, figurative, and hyperbolic, which is crazy because the news should be strong, direct, and accurate. If you want politicized, inaccurate, and false content, by all means, continue watching false news. But if you honestly believe that news organizations should be able to knowingly propagate false information without any repercussions, I have to ask you, why are you even watching the news in the first place?
Here's my hot take on this. I don't believe it was a mistake. I don't believe the person who did it was reprimanded. Look at the crowd that they placate to. And they need to keep Lil Tuk Tuk's viewership. Because you know the armchair Republican sitting at home. Like, yep, I told you, he's a dictator. Look at it. It was on the Fox. It was on the Fox. They know, they putting out the truth. They are the truth. That was not a mistake. Nobody was reprimanded behind the scenes. Think about the wild and crazy things that they say on air, unchecked, no retractions made. And that's in your face. Do you really think what's going on behind the scenes is any better? Have you forgotten about the countless lawsuits because the original owner only wanted to hire pretty blonde girls, women that were well endowed, and try to push up on them? Did we forget about the leaked information regarding Tucker Carlson? Did we forget that most recently a Black female anchor proclaimed that she was kicked out of a restaurant for praying over her food? Now, unless she stood up on her chair and tried to evangelize to everybody in the restaurant, that madam was a lie. But now, another big story that's floating around, especially on Fox Entertainment News, is the whole Biden whistleblower lie. Well, I think that lie has come to an end. Let me show you why.
Man, this story that Republicans have evidence that Biden engaged in bribery just keeps getting more and more funny. Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump's disgraced lawyer, says that the Republican witness who had all the information regarding their fake Biden bribery scheme has died. Now, basically what this means is they never actually had a witness, so they had to come up with an excuse as to why this person hasn't appeared yet. So Rudy Giuliani decided to go with they died. Really? Their story completely crumbled, and now they've resulted to crap like this. It's insane.
Republicans this week falsely claimed that they had bombshell evidence of tapes of Joe Biden being involved in some sort of foreign bribery scheme. Well, now, all of a sudden, when asked to present the evidence, they don't seem so sure that these tapes even exist.
So these recordings are legit. You can confirm they are legitimate.
Well, they were. I can confirm they were listed in the 1023 that the FBI redacted. We don't know if they're legit or not.
We don't know for sure if these tapes exist. If they do, and they say what Senator Grassley has said that he thinks they're gonna say, then I think that's a different animal.
We have phone calls that were secretly recorded as insurance policies. Apparently,
that's what this person says, but again, take that with a grain of salt. This could be coming from a very corrupt oligarch who could be making this stuff up.
Do you think they exist? And if yes, how to obtain them?
We don't know. And, Senator Grassley has never said they exist.
They exist, they exist, they exist. No, he never said that they actually existed. Do you know if they exist? I don't know. But you staked your whole career and reputation on it because it's Biden. This is screaming Benghazi 2.0, but her emails 3.0. Hunter Biden's laptop 2,675,000.0. Can we get some actual work done in the federal government? Please and thank you. Can someone on Capitol Hill fulfill what is within their job description? Can we get some representation for our taxation? During debt ceiling negotiations, let us not forget that the GOP kept saying, oh, well, this is going to be a waste of money. We need to cut this. We need to. The GOP is wasting more money than what would have been utilized for debt forgiveness. In order to keep having these sham BS meetings, why do we need to have a congressional hearing regarding TikTok where we know who's taking and selling information? Meta, aka Facebook and Instagram. Zuckerberg, where are you? You want to hole in and have a congressional meeting regarding laws in DC. DC can handle that. You want to posture and get your buzzwords out there and get your dog whistles out there and get some great sound bites, always constantly preparing for the next election. The next election, your job review. And that's what the citizens and residents of the United States need to get into their head. Y'all were applauding the French, but denigrating us black and brown folks for protesting. But the French keep in mind that their politicians work for them, that they write the annual reviews or biannual reviews or quarterly annual reviews for their politicians. Within the United States, y'all too busy being fangirls and fanboys for politicians. Stop giving them raises. Stop keeping them in that position. Because you ready to get the girl down at the Piggly Wiggly fired because you didn't like how she bagged your eggs and bread. But the person who determines whether or not you're going to be able to take care of me, Mom, or get little Johnny and Susie diagnosed properly, you just letting them willy-nilly just take everything from you and waste all your good, hard tax-paying dollars on posturing like they're an animal in the Sahara on TV because they sound good and look good on the campaign trail, because the good merch that y'all can't buy groceries, can't pay rent, can't pay a mortgage, can't buy gas, can't make it to work, but always got money to buy GOP merch. But it looks good. You can own the libs with your 50 million flags, wrapping your vehicles in the faces of politicians. But you can't donate to save a child. You can't donate to help save a homeless or displaced veteran that you use as a token when you're trying to own the libs. This isn't a national championship. This is not the Super Bowl. This is not GOP versus DEM. The ramifications of people not fulfilling their duties and properly representing the people that voted them into office and the populace at large affects lives. People can die. Did we not learn anything from COVID? That if people don't properly do their jobs, well, let's take a pause for the cause and we'll get back and we'll jump into all things Trump this week. Well, this Thursday. I'll see you in 2 and 2.
I don't dance, I just float, 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 float. I don't dance, I just float, 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 float. I just float. I'm light as a feather, I'm light as a feather. Yeah, baby, I float. It's hard to look at my resume and not find a reason to toast. She throwing that thing in a circle, making it viral. I might just elope. Say, listen.
This is a public service announcement. You might want to think twice about eating frozen strawberries this summer because there is a large voluntary recall of frozen strawberries across the United States due to concerns for a potential contamination of the hepatitis A virus. The current hepatitis A virus outbreak that's been linked to frozen strawberries has been under investigation since February 2023, but today the FDA has expanded the number of products that could be implicated that have been sold at Walmart, Costco, and H-E-B, and you can check with them to see if your product is under that recall. Currently, 9 people have been infected with hepatitis A due to these strawberries, and 3 of them have been hospitalized. The hepatitis A virus may transmit through food products, and it can cause mild to severe symptoms that last for weeks to even months. And some of the symptoms may include abdominal pain, fatigue, yellowing of the skin, dark urine, or pale stools. If you have consumed one of these products that are under the recall, you should consider talking with your doctor or local health department to see if a hepatitis A vaccine may be appropriate.
As always, be safe. Be safe, be safe, be safe. Yeah, I feel that way about a lot of recalls that come up like, whoo, thank goodness I'm allergic. Because it's getting quite difficult to keep up with all of them. Now let's break down that little miscreant. Well, that way. Some things, Trump has one playbook and it's written in crayon and it's just 2 pieces of notebook paper folded in half at this point. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's go into a little thing that I like to call the curse of the Trump attorneys. Sounds like something off of the show Goosebumps.
What's so funny is that Donald Trump is wrapped up with so many crimes and has potentially broken so many laws that even his own lawyers start to suffer from his cases. I mean, just look at this graph. 1 of his lawyers have been convicted, 12 of them have been subpoenaed, 3 resigned, 1 spoke out, and many of them have had to get their own lawyers to deal with the legal challenges that rose from working with Donald Trump. Look, MAGA does not stand for Make America Great Again. It stands for Make Attorneys Get Attorneys.
Make attorneys get attorneys. Good one, Harry. Good one, Harry. Absolutely. And I've said this 101 times. Why? Let's take the money off the table that it takes in order to get the proper education and everything to become an attorney. Let's just take the money off the table. The amount of hours intellectually you have to put into it, the amount of time and energy that you have to have in order to hone your craft, to even be on the radar, to even come close to a case like this. And you choose, after watching Donald John Trump for decades, knowing how he likes to strong arm people, not listen, work against his and anybody else's best interest, because he's like an incessant teenager that believes that he has life figured out and he's never actually lived life. Why would you do this? And the one one of his attorneys, I believe he's still his attorney, Tacopino, I'm really kerfuffled regarding him because Tacopino started off as an attorney for Stormy Daniels. Y'all remember Stormy Daniels? The porn star that Trump paid hush money to, that he was having an affair with when Melania was pregnant. The one and only time she allowed him to touch her. And Tacopino decided to cross, like, you already know. You've been in court. You've seen what he does, his antics. Like, this is not the comeuppance that you think it is. Because ain't no way. I'm a firm believer that not all money is good money. And y'all would probably be amazed at the people that I've turned down doing business with. And you would probably think, oh, but Taz, that's long money. That you could have him as a client for forever. Nope. And I learned it the hard way. One of the first clients I ever had took me through the ringer. They would refuse to appear. They were a legitimate business. Excuse me, but everything that they did publicly, every way that they ran their business made them appear to be illegitimate. So starting off, guess what? It rubbed off on me. Never, ever, ever again. But remember I told y'all that the Trump hushed Trump and said, hey, you can't be talking to none of these witnesses. Now remember his co-conspirator here, person who was also indicted along with him, who was an employee, a former Navy man, rode in with him. And it only took a matter of hours. I can't even say it was some hours, probably moments, because they were in the same caravan. And Trump violated. But let's get into what he did and why he did it.
Come here real quick. You're never going to believe this. It's unbelievable. It only took hours for Trump to violate the judge's orders. The man of the hour himself, Walt Nauta, hanging out with Trump at a diner, signing autographs and shit. The interesting thing about Walt Nauta is that he's a witness and a co-conspirator. And Trump was ordered very specifically that he is not allowed to talk to any of the witnesses that are involved in this case, and especially not Walt Nauta. All gonna bring him in, gonna bring him back and rescind those restrictions, gonna take his passport, put him in his house, make sure he stays there, hold him in contempt maybe, put him in jail for 2 days so he stops this shit. Or you can do the thing that we know that you're going to do, and that's nothing.
Oh.
Good morning. So Donald Trump is setting Walt Nauta up. You realize that, right? Donald Trump's attorney, when he was being arraigned yesterday, repeatedly spoke to Mr. Nauta. That is a huge no-no. In fact, the fact that Mr. Nauta showed up to the arraignment with Trump and his legal representation and then asked for an extension for his own, it's a bad look. And we know Donald Trump's Save America PAC is paying for Walt Nauta's legal representation as well. So go back and look at Donald Trump's track record with being held accountable for things. He never is. Why? Because he always has a bag man. He always has some poor unfortunate soul to pin the blame on so he doesn't go down for his own crimes. And that's what he's doing. And Donald Trump is absolutely terrified that he's going to flip on him. Because if he flips, that is the last legal avenue he has in terms of a defense. He can blame it all on him and say, well, he moved him. I didn't know what he was doing. He's just a low-level coffee boy. You know the line. Why don't we go ahead and ask Michael Cohen how he made out? Or maybe give Alan Weisselberg a call. Oh, no, never mind. He's serving jail time currently, I think. Either way, very interested to see how this plays out. Mr. Nauta, if you were smart, you wouldn't be working for Trump to begin with. Never mind. If you were smart, you would get yourself your own lawyer or a federal defender and cut your ties and get the fuck out of there. Because if not, you're facing 100 years in jail. Is it really worth it for that washed up orange bag of shit? My guess would be no. And don't forget to get your new Hot Indictment summer shirt. I made this one festive so you can wear it to all your family barbecues this summer and piss off Uncle Chad or your in-laws. I mean, the possibilities are endless. We all have one of those rogue conservatives in our family, right? Anyways, get your 4th of July Hot Indictment summer apparel. ChasingOz.store.
We know Trump's cycle. Like I said, his playbook is written in crayon and it's just 2 pieces of notebook paper folded in half. He always goes, they're a fine person. They're great. And then he goes, I don't really know them. I don't know them that well. I've never met them. I've never seen them. They're horrible. They're now his thing is far right thugs and far right lunatics. Now that you served your country in the military. You were assigned to Trump, from what I've read. If that's incorrect, my apologies. Turn state's evidence. Turn state's evidence and save yourself. Do not Shawshank yourself into prison to save a man that wouldn't even put spit on your books. Do you really think he's going to do anything for you? Keep in mind, Donald John Trump on his personal jet flew into Miami, Florida a day before he needed to turn himself in to be arraigned for these federal indictments because he was searching for a Florida-based attorney, which he needed by the rules of the court in Florida, excuse me. He did not even try to get Nauta an attorney. But how much you want to bet? Just like a cheating man promises his mistress the world, that Trump promised him, oh, I'll take care of your legal fees. I got you. But guess what, y'all? Trump has a probation officer.
Donald Trump has a probation officer? He's got a probation officer. The very bottom here, you probably can't read it. It says if he gets in trouble, he must notify the probation officer. He's got a fucking probation officer.
Now, to whoever that probation officer is, treat him like he's a black person. Treat him like he's a black person. Don't let him check in through the app, because I know certain places have a probation app that you can check into. Make sure you charge him all of the fees. All of the fees. And if he's 5 minutes late, clink, clink, cuff, cuff. Off to jail in a big old orange huff. Now, if you've been here for a while, we have covered all of the spies and everything that have been in and out and around Donald Trump. And he's so daft and so goofy. He's taken pictures with them. He's believed that one woman was a Rothschild, didn't even look remotely. I'm telling you, people were Anadelvying him up and down. But let's get into how much further it goes down in Mar-a-Lago. Since the sycophants and the super fans keep saying that Mar-a-Lago is just so secure. And here's a little factoid for you. Yes, former presidents get Secret Service protection till the day that they die. Keep in mind, the Secret Service one and only job is to protect the former president and immediate family. Not possessions, not belongings, not anything. They are not personal security systems. So if somebody breaks into the garage and drives off with the car, you're going to have to call the po-po ho.
Yesterday I mentioned how Mar-a-Lago is a magnet for spies. There is another component to this that I didn't even think about until I saw this Forbes article. Okay, so between the years 2017 and 2022, that time frame when Trump had access to classified documents either as president or him storing them illegally in his club, during that time, Mar-a-Lago employed 380 short-term foreign workers. It says Mar-a-Lago relies on foreign nationals to work as servers, cooks, and housekeepers. So people who are like, oh, well, you know, there might be spies at Mar-a-Lago, but they can't enter this secret bathroom, so it's okay. What about staff? Staff could. And the requirements to get a job there, not that strict. If you could pass a drug test and a background check, and you can provide 3 months of verifiable housekeeping experience, then you are qualified to be brought on as a housekeeper. Is there a two-tiered justice system? Absolutely, because if you or I did a fraction of that, it would have been game over a long time ago. Yet Benedict Donald doesn't do a second behind bars waiting for his trial. He's free to tour the country. He's free to fundraise. He's free to attack prosecutors and their families. But yeah, tell me more about how he's the giant victim in this situation. And yes, tell me more about Hunter's laptop. I would love to hear it.
How many of you believe that Trump actually pays for background checks? As much as he stiffs paying small businesses and paying his bills in general, and Trump requesting a drug test in that family, I think we're getting a clear picture as to who the plug is. So now do you understand his stance on immigration? Let me paint a picture for you. If you're on TikTok, maybe you saw this story, it kind of went viral. There was a woman, white woman, completely out of touch, talking about her nanny. And she couldn't go home, couldn't see her kids, hadn't seen her daughter since she was an infant, was worried if this woman's family, her family, was going to take good care of her now that she wants to go back home to the Philippines. See where I'm going here? That is the type of servitude, slavery, if you will, that Trump is trying to invoke for not only himself predominantly, but for all of the people who are actually rich that are around him that he tries to hobnob with. Because if Trump truly had wealthy friends and people actually respected him and really wanted him to be around, he wouldn't have been crashing weddings at Mar-a-Lago. I'm just saying. But if him saying that, you know, he's going to stop the process that gained his wife and his grandparents' citizenship, it's because he wants to trap people here. Get them here illegally, no work visa, no paperwork, no nothing. And if he forces himself on them and they happen to get pregnant, when he's done with them, he can legally kick them and his offspring out of the country. He can pay them the bare minimum. Oh, I'm sure you didn't think of it from that angle, did you? But let's talk about, I mean, I know they keep tossing out the Biden crime family, the Biden crime family. Is Biden suffering from cognitive issues and he's Sleepy Joe, or is he the Godfather? But let's talk about the true crime family. And I'm talking about Herr Drumpf and the family of crime.
What do you make of the fact that Melania, who apparently was getting her hair done today instead of being with her husband as he's being indicted for the second time, nor Ivanka and Jared were there? Page 6 reporting that Ivanka and Jared felt they lost some of their social circle associating with Trump, and now they just want nothing to do with him. None of them were in court.
Yeah, well, that's what I would call true love. I mean, nothing could be finer, right? Than, hanging out in a diner while your wife is getting her hair done and you're in the middle of an indictment. Or your daughter or son-in-law who have pulled down over $2.5 billion as a direct result of your presidency, calling themselves senior advisors. They should call themselves senior grifters. They realize that they have made so much money that they're not willing to jeopardize a penny of it, even if that means distancing themselves from the father.
The shy and retiring Michael Cohen, subtle as always with his comments. Michael Cohen, let's see if Waltine Nada listens to you. He probably should. Thank you very much.
Wolf, call me.
Now remember, there was a point in time where Trump considered Michael Cohen one of the kids that he actually liked. So maybe he wanted to pork him like he wants to pork Ivanka. But guess what was recently unsealed that further confirms this family ain't shit. But German immigrants that believe in their good blood, Trump was quoted as saying that, and their good German genes, Trump was also quoted saying that. How do you think they feel about people who aren't a part of that pure bloodline? Look at these unsealed emails.
Boy, does this day just keep getting better. This is breaking from Occupy Democrats. A judge unseals bombshell email sent by Donald Trump's son, Trump Jr., in which he launches racist attacks against Mexicans and Black New Yorkers. In an email to one of his best friends, Trump Jr. wrote that his friend should encourage the Mexicans to come to the U.S. and give them another excuse not to learn English. When I have to speak to my grandchildren in Spanish, at least I will know I have you to thank. Trump Jr.'s friend responded saying that he was going to send his son down to the border with guns in order to stop this blank back issue dead in its tracks. It gets worse. In another email exchange, Trump Jr. attacked Black New Yorkers, declaring that Upper Manhattan had so many Black residents now that it looks like Harlem, and that he can hear the theme song from the Jeffersons playing in the background. What? It goes on, the friend was a groomsman at Trump Jr.'s wedding to his former wife, and now the lawsuit involves him and his former employer. His friend is trying to keep more emails from being unsealed by the judge, because it will harm his reputation. Don't ever forget who these people are. We keep telling you, and you keep making excuses for them. Do not vote red, because you're voting for fascists and racists and bigots. Come on, Jack Smith. You're a bestie. Keep digging. We love it.
Keep in mind that Don Jr. is receiving the same treatment that his father received on purpose, because that's his father's idea of trickle-down economics, trickle-down bullshittery. Don Jr. cheated on his former wife multiple times. Don Jr. also dresses his children as if they lived in a trailer park. If they lived in a trailer park on assistance. So I can only imagine the mental anguish that he's putting on them, especially the oldest one, because the tradition in the Trump family, and yes, I will continue to refer to them as their original name before Grandpapa changed it, since they were, exiled from Germany. We can go through that again if y'all want to. The oldest son is ridiculed and condemned. The youngest son is all but forgotten. But remember when Trump made that appearance as if he was still POTUS in Ohio after the train derailment. Walked into a McDonald's and that franchisee was like, "Oh yeah, Trump is here. Yeah, and he gonna buy everybody lunch." And he left that franchisee to eat the bill. Did y'all think that was gonna stop? Mr. Dine and Dash is back at it.
This broke ass bitch. So after Donald Trump's arraignment in Miami the other day, he made his way across town and stopped at a small Cuban restaurant where random faith leaders decided to surround him and pray, lay hands. But during his visit at this Cuban restaurant, he told everybody, food's on him.
Are you ready? Food for everyone. Food for everyone.
And the best part of it all, he stayed there for 10 minutes. There was no time for anybody to eat anything. And then he left without paying for anything, even what he had. So he was indicted, arraigned. He went into this small business, told everybody food on the house, and then he left. And I can only imagine how much it cost the business owner. But keeping it classy.
And see, if you notice, Trump does at times get accidentally smart with his words when he said food for everybody. So if called out on it, he can just say, "Oh, I never said I was going to pay." Or "My man was supposed to be back there to pay." But these business owners, they never come out initially and say anything about Trump. They never go, "Yeah, he left me with this bill. Fuck him. I'm not voting for him," because they've already put their reputation and their name on the line and backed him. So they will pretend. They'll tell you, "No, this story is false." Da, 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 da. Or they'll just get radio silent, like that mayor of that town in Ohio, like that franchisee in that town in Ohio. And they will ignore all his immigration talk, all his talk about shithole countries. They'll ignore it all because they've already made it to the United States and they've taken on the persona of the complexion for protection. And they act like they're as they come. It was like, "Well, I got mine. I don't care if anybody else gets them." Forgetting about their family members that they miss so much, that they're writing letters to, talking about, their success in the United States and come on over. How they gonna come on over? But the best part of waking up is Trump emptying your cup. But I know Trump tried to posture and act like Jack Smith trembles at the thought or sight of him. But we got the reports from all the reporters that were in the courtroom when he was indicted, and Jack Smith was staring at him like he was Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible. Did not break that gaze upon Trump, and Trump could not take it. But you want to know who else is trembling in their boots that they were supposed to pick themselves up from the bootstraps with? The GOP. And not because Trump was indicted, so to speak, because they know they're next on the chopping block. Take a look.
The Republican members of the House who are freaking out right now, and there's a couple in the Senate as well, about Jack Smith's indictment of Donald Trump for the Mar-a-Lago documents case, are not freaking out because of the indictment of Donald Trump in the Mar-a-Lago documents case. They know except for a couple of them, I would think they're all smart enough to have actually read the indictment and seen the level of detail and the overwhelming amount of evidence that went into this indictment. This indictment could have been done in 6 or 7 pages. It's 49 pages long. Intentionally on Jack Smith's part. Those Republican members of Congress are freaking out because they know what the next indictment is coming from Jack Smith for January 6th in efforts to overturn the election. And they know that Jack Smith has everything that the January 6th committee compiled over 14, 15 months. He got all of that as his starting point, and he's been building on that for a year. And when Jack Smith's January 6th indictments, plural, drop, it's going to involve 15 or 20 people. At least. And those indictments are going to be hundreds of pages long. And they're going to be in the same format as the Mar-a-Lago documents case. It's going to be an incredible amount of information, an incredible amount of evidence. It's going to be written in a way that is readable. It's going to be incredibly detailed and damning and expansive. And don't forget that leading up to and following January 6th, before Trump left office on January 20th of 2021, there were 6 members of Congress, all Republicans, who asked Mark Meadows to put them on the pardon list before Trump left office. Mo Brooks, he's no longer in Congress. Matt Gaetz, he's still in Congress. Mo Brooks and Matt Gaetz asked Mark Meadows to have Trump issue a blanket pardon for every Republican member of Congress. Andy Biggs, Louis Gohmert, Scott Perry, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Those were the ones who were smart enough to ask. There were 34 other members of Congress, Republicans, who were texting with Mark Meadows.
I can guarantee you that they read the indictment. Want to know how I can guarantee this to you? As hard as they're fighting, the fact that Marjorie Greene wants to, look into appropriations to defund the FBI and defund Jack Smith, but wants the Biden family investigated. If you defund the way that the GOP looks at defunding things, which means, making them defunct, how is that investigation going to go? And the way that they are staunchly lying through their teeth, knowingly, and you can see it in their face that they're hating to do it, but they need to save their own neck because they don't want prison time. They don't want to be working on the railroad. They are trying to save their own necks at this point. It's not about Trump. It's not about them bowing down to Trump. They do not care if Trump exposes them from the rooter to the tutor. Because to them, that's just locker room talk. They're concerned about charges against them for violating the Espionage Act. And if you all want me to go over the Espionage Act again, I can. If you don't feel like going down through all the videos to go through when I broke it down before. But baby, Jack is just getting warmed up. Take a look.
Just when I thought hot indictment summer couldn't heat up anymore, we got more tea from Jack Smith. Not really tea, but a great subpoena. Oh no, Ted Cruz. Womp womp. It appears as though special counsel Jack Smith has called for some tapes that might implicate Ted Cruz in the whole fake elector scheme. In fact, the Republican Party as a whole is internally panicking because in their attempt to overthrow a free and fair election, Mark Meadows was talking to all of these Republican lawmakers about overthrowing the election with the fake set of electors. They were so desperate to do anything to win when they lost that all of these people were trying to actively overthrow the government. And most of them, if not all, and then some, are now in a fucking tizzy. This week at the DC courthouse, we saw not one, but two of the fake electors slated from the state of Nevada, which is why the Republicans are trying to defund Jack Smith's special counsel investigation. Now we hear them all talking about defund the FBI and the CIA. That sounds an awful like defund the police, if you ask me. And the loudest ones are the ones that were really in with Donald Trump. And I am here for it. Because I can tell you, Jack Smith is going to go after more than just Donald Trump. And so is Fawny Willis in Fulton County. She's building herself a nice little RICO case. And I can assure you that the Republican-controlled House of Representatives will do anything and everything that they can to try and put an end to this investigation any way they can. Although most of their little pet projects this week keep failing. Like today, that introduction that Anna Paula Luna introduced in the House, the resolution to censure Adam Schiff and fine him like $10 million. I don't know, it was bullshit. They voted on that today and it failed. Who's sir? Anyway.
Face additional charges in the classified documents case in New Jersey.
You can add New Jersey to the list of potential places that Trump could be facing criminal liability through indictments. Apparently, he took some documents from Florida to his club in New Jersey and showed people that he wasn't supposed to show. And so there's a very good chance he could be facing additional charges coming from the federal government, but this time out of the state of New Jersey. So to recap, he's already lost a $5 million civil suit. He's facing a $250 million civil suit in New York. He's facing over 30 criminal indictments in New York and over 30 criminal indictments in from the federal government in Florida, and it looks like he's staring down more indictments from Georgia at the state level, from New Jersey at the federal level, and more still potentially from the federal level in regards to the January 6th insurrection. He's going to be lucky to keep himself out of prison. He's going to have to cut deals or flee in order to keep himself out of prison with all of this shit he's facing.
Well, right now, there's only one place he could plausibly flee to, and that's Russia. And I don't think he wants more PP Chronicles to come out regarding him. Because have we forgotten that he still has international warrants against him? And on top of that, guess what Israel thinks about him? Don't think too hard. Y'all know I'm going to show you.
Trump may have done the one thing that would force the entire Republican Party to repudiate him. The Israeli Intelligence Corps and the Mossad reportedly think that by sharing those documents, Trump has damaged the security of the state of Israel. Trump can survive grabbing some Republican third rails, but not that one. Meanwhile, the GOP climb downs continue. Mike Pence does a Mike Pompeo, Trump endangered the troops with a side of Nikki Haley, including my own relatives dressing. If it goes wrong in Florida, what is the possibility that Jack Smith has a backup play in New Jersey? Trump reportedly turned down a chance to avoid all charges last October, and the story gets weirder. The British TV producer who shouted, "President Trump, are you ready to go to jail?" The guy who got in her face and called her a stupid bee turns out to be a former Trump administration official who claimed left-wing hit squads were going to kill him. All that and more, as if there could be more, on the Thursday Countdown podcast, available now wherever you podcast.
Still think it wasn't a big deal, that it was okay for him to have those documents in a bathroom, in a ballroom, and he knew exactly what documents he wanted to take with him as he was on vacation and traveling from golf course to golf course. The world looked at Trump as if he was a joke, except for two people who have set themselves up to be dictators. And it wasn't because they had respect for Trump. They knew that they could use Trump, and that's Putin and Kim Jong-un. But I know I said at the beginning of this segment regarding Trump that it's really weird that he's paying, because we know how he likes to pay bills. They talk about black folks, but the stereotype that they put on those black folks and how we pay bills seems to be how they pay bills. They keep asking for extension, shucking and jiving and putting stuff in other people's names. I'm just saying. I digress. But Trump has been under something that, excuse me, I like to call the Fitton influence. Don't know what that is? Don't worry. I'm going to show you.
Okay, this is legitimately hilarious. Earlier today in one of my videos, I mentioned a guy named Tom Fitton, Fitton. He is the president of an organization called Judicial Watch. He's a conservative activist. He's been doing that Judicial Watch thing for about 30 years, give or take. And it's supposed to be this like right-wing kind of, you know, legal observer organization kind of thing. And I mean, he's a Trump hack now, basically. Throughout the second half of the 90s, he was one of these guys who filed all kinds of lawsuits against the Clintons. He tormented the shit out of Barack Obama during his entire presidency. And, you know, you get the idea. He, during the 2016 election season, he routinely pushed all kinds of disinformation and misinformation about Hillary Clinton. And he's on Fox News all the time, you know, sticking up for Trump and bashing everyone who doesn't like Trump, basically. So he's that guy right now. And it's being reported that over the course of the last couple of years, and Trump loves him. Trump loves this guy. Over the last couple of years, Trump's attorneys have been attempting to give him, you know, like legitimate legal advice about, you know, the January 6th investigations into Trump and how to handle the Mar-a-Lago situation, the Mar-a-Lago document situation. And it was reported earlier today that immediately after, throughout the second half of 2021 and into 2022, when Trump's attorneys are basically advising him, look, you gotta give these fucking documents back, dude. You gotta give these documents back. Tom Fitton kept telling Trump, and Tom Fitton's a lawyer, Tom Fitton kept telling Trump, no, you have a legal right to keep these documents, and would give Trump these bullshit arguments that clearly have not worked. And so Trump would push back on his attorneys based on what Tom Fitton was telling him. He's got all of these high-priced attorneys, and he's taking advice from a guy who's just kissing his ass and telling him what he wants to hear, and that's why he's where he is today, because of the jerk from Judicial Watch. Wow. I was wrong about Tom Fitton being an attorney. I don't know why. I think I just assumed. Of course he's not a fucking lawyer. Donald Trump is taking his legal advice from some guy with a fucking English degree. Oh my fucking God. Oh, how fucking perfect is that? How fucking perfect is that? He's ignoring the advice of his actual lawyers, one of whom he paid a $3 million retainer to, and he's taking his fucking legal advice from somebody with an English degree. Oh my fucking God. Oh God. Oh.
Oh, wow.
Color me not surprised. Color me not surprised, because a narcissist is never going to take correct advice. No matter how much fact you put in front of them, they will dig a hole for themselves, fall into the hole, blame you for them being in the hole, and go, you never tried to help me, you never want to help me, you don't give a fuck about me. I told you not to start digging that hole right there, because you had to walk over it when you got done digging it. But you know what I know. As always, make sure you check out the links in the description of this video. And if you like this podcast, make sure next time bring a friend with you. Share it on your socials. Do appreciate it. And make sure, if you are not already, make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. I'll see y'all tomorrow where we can have a little bit of fun.